Welcome to Life Transformation Radio. This show is all about life transformations and our journey from where we were to why we are doing what we are doing today. We will discuss the hiccups, the roller coasters, and the blood, sweat, and tears that has been poured out while discovering our purpose. It is all about our transformations. Here is your host, Sean Douglas.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to another episode of Life Transformation Radio. I am your host, Master Resilience Implementer, TEDx speaker, business positioning strategist, and international best-selling author, Sean Douglas. This show is currently heard in over 90 countries. So whether it's your first time joining us or you've been listening to us for some time, I want to thank you to those who are listening from around the world. Life Transformation Radio is all about our transformation. Here, we tell the stories of why we're doing what we're doing, highlighting that transformational moment that changed our lives and how we use it to then transform others and elevate their lives as well. You can listen to us live right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, Tuesday through Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can also join our Facebook group by searching Life Transformation Radio Community on Facebook, and never miss an episode by subscribing on your favorite podcast platform. Life Transformation Radio can be heard on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Player FM, Radio Public, Overcast, CastBox, Google Podcasts, Pandora. Everywhere you listen to podcasts, make sure you hit that subscribe button on Life Transformation Radio, and we're on YouTube at Life Transformation Radio. So go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you think highly of the show, please leave us a rating and review, letting us know what you think. On the show, my guests are entrepreneurs, speakers, business owners, coaches, podcasters, authors, amazing human beings having an impact in the world around them. And my guests today have done exactly that. If you have any questions for any of the guests that I bring on the show during our live broadcast, Tuesday through Friday, 5:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on the Blog Talk Radio Network, call us up at 657-383-1109. Again, the number is 657-383-1109. We'd be happy to take your questions, and my team is standing by currently to field those questions. And now, please help me welcome to the show my amazing guests, Marian Massie and Mark Satterfield. Welcome to Life Transformation Radio.
Hey, Sean. Welcome.
Yes, Sean.
I'm so pumped to have you both here. I've researched and have learned a lot more about you. And I got to say, as I've said to them, Marian has written one of the best books I've read in this space, and it's called Dancing with God. And if you haven't read that book, ladies and gentlemen, you must read the book. I like true story books anyways, but and we'll get into this, but that's one of the best books, especially in like these times, or if you have uncertain times. I would say that would be an amazing book for people to read. So, Marian, thank you for writing such an amazing and powerful book.
You are so sweet, but I got to tell you, on top of that, I don't know if you're aware of that. I wrote both of the books, but I was told I was going to write 2 books in a dream. Now, I'm not a writer. I don't like to write. And in the dream, I went, but I can't spell, which is very true. And I did end up writing, Dancing with God, a true story, as my second book. And it chronicles, my transformation to working with spirit and the subconscious and all of that. So.
Yeah. What my big takeaway, as we were talking pre-show, I was going through some things a couple of years ago. I was kind of uncertain. I was starting my third business. I was like, is this really the direction I want to go? But I kept being pulled to do this other thing. I kept being pulled, and people would tell me that, you should do this. And I'm like, I'm so tired of hearing that. Like, I don't want to do that, And I think that we repel against things that maybe we're not sure of, maybe things that we're not interested in. But when we hear it and hear it and hear it and hear it, sometimes we just got to say yes and figure it out. And so I did, and I cannot even tell you how many doors have been opened. So many opportunities have been available. I mean, it's been amazing.
It's life knocking you on the head and going, hey, listen to your intuition. Go for it.
Yeah, and I've been told that, like, you got to listen to your intuition. You got it, like, when people have been telling you, you'd be good at this. You're like, no. Like, keep an open mind. And I was so closed-minded. I was so closed off. There was a lot of difficulty. Yeah.
Oh, opening up to our intuition is what we brought into, creating the Love of Your Life program. And we wanted people to really become empowered by it.
Love it. I think this is the best time to be talking about this based on current events, and it's almost February. So I think this is a perfect time to talk about this. The title of the show is Create the Love of Your Life with Marian Massie and Mark Satterfield. Marian and Mark have been married for over 20 years and are the developers of the program Create the Love of Your Life. They teach single women how to attract the love of their life by changing their subconscious beliefs. As a clinical hypnotherapist and success coach, Marian helps clients let go of subconscious beliefs and unresolved anger that results in attracting the wrong type of relationship. She is also the author of 2 books, Dancing with God and You Are Soul. You can learn more about them and their system at createtheloveofyourlife.com. Createtheloveofyourlife.com. Go ahead and click on that in the show notes. Connect to their social media profiles, and then look at what they offer. I promise you, you will not be ungrateful of the abundance of stuff that they've got, because I know Dancing with God, I recommend to everybody. And now I need to get You Are Soul. I didn't even know you had that, so now I got to go pick that up. But my first question for you is, why? Why write the books? Why create Love of Your Life? Why do you do what you do?
Well, I'm going to start with why we created the program. It was in July. We were thinking about something else to do. We were kind of bored because of COVID. And I know my husband needed a business. And I was saying, let me look up what's, out there. And something said, like, dating advice. And so he went off on his own and looked up the different dating advice programs out there. And he came to me and he goes, they're just so superficial. They don't have much substance. He goes, now, what would you do with a client? And so I sat down and I said, well, I would work with helping them let go of anger from past relationships, help them change subconscious beliefs about their inner worth and their value, because you can have very different beliefs subconsciously as intellectually. And I would teach them about boundaries. And he goes, I love it. So that's how we created it, because the why, was based on, that's exactly how I found him. After my second divorce, and I teach this for a living, I had to look inside myself and go, I'm creating beliefs that are keeping me out of a healthy relationship. After 2 divorces, you have to go, something's not working. And so I worked at addressing the beliefs that I didn't even know were there. And step by step, I got rid of the old anger from childhood, from old relationships, and started to implant better self-esteem, all on the subconscious. And within a year's time, I found my husband. And so this is exactly what we teach.
That's awesome.
Everything I did.
That's amazing. And sometimes, I believe, the abundance cannot come until you've done the work on yourself. And the way that I put that into process is, if someone makes a fist and you want to give them money, but they don't want to let go of what they already have in their hand, you can't give them money.
Sean, that's
you cannot,
so
you cannot
accurate.
receive it.
Very, very accurate.
That's how
you can't go forward in, let's say, the relationships, if you have
Sure.
preconceived ideas or hurts or beliefs that aren't empowering you to be your authentic self. You just can't go forward. And there's no program out there that I know of that actually teaches you this step by step by step for creating the love of your life. And it's making it very powerful about that.
Yeah, what we found and what we believe is that your subconscious beliefs are really energy, and energy attracts. So if you have unresolved anger or fear, it's no big surprise, but you're going to tend to attract the type of person who is generally annoyed at the world or fearful, and that's not the type of person that a woman wants to attract. And when we were doing the initial research for developing the program, we found that there was a lot of stuff that was geared towards women in their 20s, things that focused on how to dress, what kind of text messages to send, but there really wasn't anything that focused on the inner work. And as you said, and we agree completely, you have to really change that inner work first before you start to go out and date. And if you do that, then you are going to attract someone who will really love you for you.
Exactly.
Yeah, it starts within, right? You can't fix what's going on the outside until you fix what's going on the inside.
Absolutely. I would, during my sessions with different women, I'd ask how many people have actually, worked on themselves, and a few said they were. And then I'd ask how many actually were going out and dating, and the other people would say, I'm doing that. But very rarely were they doing both. So you really need to work on your inner changing of your beliefs, your emotions, and then go out and date smart. And that's what we teach.
Right. I love it. Mark, what made you get involved with this other than, you want to support your spouse? And what was your why for wanting to do the research and really opening up to this?
Well, I guess the simplest answer is that I was somewhat unhappy in retirement. I had run a internet marketing business for about 20 years and retired, and I discovered that I just was not somebody who could exist without a purpose. And for me, having a purpose meant having a business, being able to educate and help people. And I, as Marian mentioned, cast around a lot of different areas, and I really increasingly had met a number of women who were in their 30s, 40s, 50s, and even some older that were frustrated in terms of finding love. And I thought, there ought to be something that's not simplistic, not superficial, that can help these women. And that was really the genesis of it, and that's what got Marian and I together to start to talk about the program, then ultimately developed it. And I wanted to create something that could really be a self-study program, highly interactive, but something that women could do on their own, at their own pace, but at the end of it, come out with a real clear sense for their authentic self, have a real clear sense for what they wanted in a relationship, who it was that they wanted to attract, and then exactly how to go out and start dating in a way that is safe and a way that has a high probability of success.
Yeah,
I love there's an application
you created
piece.
that process.
Yeah, I love that there's an application piece. We read a book or we take a course, even get a coach, and there's just do this. But where's the application? I can read all day. They say knowledge is power. I think the application is the power. The knowledge is the kinetic energy or the potential energy that's been built up. It's the car's running. but we got to put our foot on the gas. And I believe that the application of that knowledge is what makes the difference, what gets you from point A to B to C and whatever else. So I love that there's an application process built into it.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, when I'd read these books and say, well, just change your subconscious beliefs, and they don't tell you how to do it, being that was my whole life, I was like, seriously? They're not telling you how to do this? Well, it's kind of like, fix the car engine. You're not going to tell me how to fix the car engine? So, yes, that's why we created the process. It's step by step, and they'll know themselves so much better for it and just go out and start creating, again, what they want.
Because unfortunately, what happens is so many women, they just start to go out and go online, and they start swiping left and right, and they approach trying to find the love of their life from the perspective of, I'll recognize it when I see it. And unfortunately, you couldn't be more wrong if you approach it from that standpoint, because you really need to have first a real sense for your own authentic self. You really need to have a sense in terms of what are going to be appropriate boundaries that you're going to expect. You need to have a very clear sense on precisely the type of guy that you want to attract before you go out and start to implement. But as Marian says, both are important. You have to have both the inner work as well as the outer execution.
Everything he just said is what I woke up with after my second divorce, going, I am not going to make the same mistake again. Where before I just kind of trot out there and go, oh, he's attractive. I'm, attracted to him. Let's go and marry him. No. This time I got very clear about what I wanted, started to work on my own self, and that's what we teach.
Right, and if you don't do it, this is the reason why you tend to attract the same person over and over again. Marian has this wonderful story. After her second divorce, she sat down and she said to herself, oh my God, I have married the same guy twice.
Different body, but the same guy.
Right.
Different body, different name, but lo and behold, it was exactly the same guy.
Yep.
Yeah. Man, there's so much I could say to that, and people that I know that do the same thing and habitually find themselves into these situations, and at some point you have to say, maybe it's me, which is hard for people. I'm just saying, like, maybe it's not so much the guy, that it, like, so my wife and I, we joke, they say, well, how long have you been married? I said, well, on and off, 13 years. They're like, what? Yeah, I mean, we got married in 2007, got divorced in 2008, got back together in 2009, separated in 2011, got back together later on in 2011, and then we were going to separate again in 2013, but we had a couple kids and said, screw it, let's stay together, But there's a lot of work that had to be done on ourselves to keep the relationship from 2013 and 14 going. I mean, it was just, we were so selfish. We were so competing against each other. And we still do, but we found a healthy outlet for it. Whether we play games or, we'll I don't know, go to a park and who can swing the highest. I mean, it's fun competition, but like we were competing against each other instead of completing each other.
Right.
And we didn't realize this. And I was always a big advocate of I'll just figure it out on my own. Like I'll just find a book somewhere and a book will tell me and, whatever. I was not so much an advocate for therapy. I'm like, why? So they could charge me $100. I could have, read in a book for $5. Like I don't understand. But again, there's some things that were happening in my life, and I said, you know what? Forget it. Let's just say yes and figure it out. So, we did the therapy thing. We did the Christian thing. We did the fireproof your marriage and Jimmy Evans marriage on the rock. We started doing the Christian thing, and then that really kind of helped. But improving yourself in all areas necessary for you to be a really good spouse or a parent, or I think is never a bad thing. It's just, I think pride gets in them.
You raise a really good point. And I mean, one of the things that we found and really emphasize in the program is this whole issue of boundaries and being able to communicate boundaries. Now, of course, you have to first know what boundaries are. And a lot of times we don't really know what exactly boundaries are, what's acceptable to us, what's not acceptable to us. So the first step is figuring out what those boundaries are. And there's a process and a system for that. But then it's a matter of making sure that those boundaries are respected and enforced. And the ability to say tough things in a kind way. And we spent a lot of time with our clients and in the program working on that because that's crucial. And so often what happens is we shy away from communicating our boundaries because we're afraid that he won't like me if I tell him about this particular boundary that's important to me. But as Marian often says, look, the reality is that if he isn't going to like you because of this boundary that is important to you, this is somebody you don't want in your life.
Right.
And you want to know if someone is right sooner rather than later. So
right.
You're exactly right, Sean. Boundaries are just a crucial issue, both in terms of understanding what they are as well as communicating them.
Very well said.
I like it. So, Marian, I'd love for you to tell us one of your transformational stories. And from what I know about you, there's been a couple. So if you could nail one down, what would be a transformational moment that really changed you and it allowed you to go down the path that you're currently on?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, I was on my own at 15, and I think that was very transformational. So I had to go within. I didn't really have to, but I did, and relied on my inner guidance. And I do believe that we create everything in our life by how we focus our mind, our belief systems, and our emotions. And so from the time I was 15, I started to work on changing that. I read some books on the subconscious mind that was transformational. And then I ended up, focusing on what I would want to do. I wanted a profession that I would love for the rest of my life. And that's all I kept in my mind. And I knew my thoughts create is what we teach our people too. Your thoughts create. And one day someone told me about hypnotherapy. And I'd never heard about it. You're talking about 30 years ago. No one heard about hypnotherapy back then. And so I looked into it, and it was just like duck to water. I loved it, and I was good at it. And so everything in my life has been based on that, and I listen to my intuition. I know Spirit guides me. And like I said, I had dreams that have come true, and that's why I wrote the 2 books. So it's a bunch of transformational things.
Love it. Mark, I want to ask you a sort of a personal question, if I could. How has Marian transformed you?
Ooh, that's a good one, Sean.
We ask the hard questions here.
That is really sweet.
In a lot of ways, and all really for the best. I think one of the highest compliments you can give your partner is to say that you're a better person as a result of having them in your life, and that's certainly the case with Marian. I was somebody. I'm the son of 2 academics, and grew up in corporate America. So I was very, very pragmatic. If I couldn't if I couldn't see it or feel it, it didn't really exist. So when I met Marian, who was this hypnotherapist success coach, I guess I could say I was a little skeptical, and I wasn't quite sure what this was all about. I wasn't quite sure if this really had any substance or whether it was just so much woo-woo. But over time, and this was really the beauty of Marian, because she wasn't dogmatic about it. She didn't try to convince me that her approach was right, but
I lived it.
Over time, she opened my eyes and my perspective that there are different ways to approach things, and that the subconscious is a real thing. And I had some questions about, this sounds kind of nice, change your subconscious beliefs, but is this something that really only people who eat fruit and nuts and hang out in the field can do? So I started to research it just for my own proof of concept, if you will, and came across some research that was done by Andrew Huberman out at Stanford, and it turns out that changing your subconscious beliefs, which is what the neuroscientists call neuroplasticity, is a real thing, and you can really do it. Now, the interesting thing about it is that changing your beliefs requires that whatever you want to change your belief about is important to you. It requires intense focus, and it requires a period of relaxation. And if you do those three things, you can, in fact, change your subconscious mind. And what Huberman makes the point of is that the power of hypnotherapy is such that it's the only therapy out there that actually combines this period of intense concentration with a period of intense rest. And that's the reason why hypnotherapy accelerates change. So a lot of the concepts that Marian introduced really resonated with me, and I would say that I've really now become very much of a believer.
Love it, and well said. Well said. Marian, I want to talk about not only the program, the books, but how the listeners can learn more about what you're up to and how they can become a part of your community and maybe work with you. How are you elevating the world around you?
Well, we do have the Create the Love of Your Life website. We have a YouTube station and a Facebook so that the people can connect with us. I also have a marianmassie.com if they want individual coaching. I just feel that I am transforming people by really helping them understand that they create everything in their life. We just focused this for a specific niche, but you can do it for anything.
Right.
I love it.
Yeah, the approach that we take, we're very targeted towards helping women attract the love of their life. But as Marian says, it can be applicable to really anything you want to change or accomplish in your life. We post new videos every week on YouTube where we take a deep dive down into specific areas on attracting the love of your life. And as I say, there's a lot of information on our website, which is Create the Love of Your Life.
Love it. Same question for you, Mark. How are you currently elevating the world around you?
Well, I like to think that the program is the primary thing these days. We're getting some, we get really great feedback from women that have found it to be transformational. And it really is that feedback. Somebody that was feeling a little bit lost, a little bit uncertain, was wondering if they would ever find love again, and to hear about the transformation that they went through really gives an enormous amount of positivity from my standpoint.
Yes, and also some of the women that have taken it, they go, my goodness, this is good for anybody, because we are teaching major concepts. We are teaching them how to recognize their subconscious beliefs, recognize when they're angry, and then working with the hypnosis. Each module has the meditations, the hypnosis for all of that, and so that it creates comprehensive change.
I wonder how many people have unresolved anger.
Oh.
I was thinking about that just while you were. I don't know if it was the string of words that you put together, but man, this could be used for anybody. And it was like, I didn't realize I had such anger. And like, how you put that, I'm like, I wonder how many people do have unresolved anger.
Well, I mean, most people don't realize that a majority of depression is anger turned inward. Self-sabotaging behavior is anger. That not just people screaming and things like that. Yes. And lack of motivation. I had this one time, this guy come in. He was in his own business. He had no motivation whatsoever. He did not feel angry. And I said, from everything I talked to, I said, you've got a lot of anger because you were fired. And he goes, oh, no, I dealt with it, which meant he dealt with it intellectually. And so the first thing I did with him was to deal with the anger in the hypnotic process. He came back. I didn't even talk about motivation. He came back the next week, and his motivation increased 50%.
Wow. Right, and anger is a huge issue from a relationship standpoint.
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Because so many of the women that we work with, they say, well, I'm not angry, but I tend to attract men who are angry. And,
or passive-aggressive.
Or passive-aggressive.
That's anger.
And it all has to do with your internal anger. And you've got to, you have to release that. And now the good news is that there's, a system, process, tools that you can use to release that. But it is surprising how many people who don't think that they're angry actually have this, kind of burning cauldron of anger that's below the surface. And that's resulting in attracting the type of guy that really isn't right for them.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I once, in 2015, when I was 2016, maybe 2015. So I was, I started a car club. It's like a military car club for guys with classic cars and hot rods and things like that. We started it in 2014, and by 2015, I was going to all these car shows with a couple guys, and I said, we need to do our own fundraiser. So we did. We did a fundraiser. Everybody complained about it, except for the couple of guys that were really gung-ho like me. A lot of the dudes complained about it. And then somehow they had a meeting that said that I'm creating a lot of work for them. And they literally told me, ma'am, your dedication is off-putting, and we just don't want you in the club anymore. I was like, wait. So my dedication to hosting a car show that we raised $2,000 or $3,000 on, and then gave it to the local fire department. So that is off-putting. My dedication to excellence is off-putting. My dedication to a cause is off-putting. Well, yeah, but when we join the club, we need to give you a lot of work. I was like, oh, man, you guys could have it. So the club's folded 2 years later or something like that, 2017, 2018. The club folded, But it kind of, it didn't settle with me, and people would be like, man, that must have really hurt. I'm like, I don't really care. Those guys can suck at, They're like, you tell your face about how you're not, how you're so happy, I tell people I'm happy. They're like, tell your face about it. It was just, I don't know if it was repressed anger or just I was bitter for a while. I think back, I was bitter. I would go to the car shows and one or the two of the guys would show up, who were still wanting to go, and we talk, and I'm like, is this club dying yet? Is it failing? And they're like, dude, there's something not right with you. I was like, has it shut down? I was praying for their demise, revenge, But it was just I poured everything into something and then got removed from it because I was doing something good. I've never heard of this, but it took me a little bit, it took me some introspective healing or learning or whatever. But I just keep thinking, I'm how many people carry, for you, Marian, did you carry from one husband to another, to all the stuff that didn't go right? Or
absolutely. I had to I had to focus on and be very honest. I mean, I went back to my childhood and how angry I was that I had to be on my own. I had to run away to be safe, and that my father really wasn't there for me. And after I healed that, I went to my first husband inwardly and worked on what I was angry at. I got rid of that anger. I got rid of the second, husband's anger that I had about him until I got to a place of neutrality. It was being just really honest about yourself.
Right. Now that makes sense. I wonder how many people do that with their jobs, with relationships, with parenting, and I'm sure there's so many situations I could just name where people go into each situation, they're carrying that, I guess, unresolved anger into that next situation. Well, the job treated me bad last time. This one will probably be the same. They go in with that closed-mindedness.
Instead of really creating what they want in their life. Lots of people are out there being a victim. But my whole premise and how I live my life is that I create my reality. And I try not to blame others. If I do, I find myself, I'm realizing I'm coming from a victim mentality.
Right, and if and we see this a lot. Women will say, there are no good men left. There is no one who's going to love me for me.
Right.
I'm not attractive enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. And in effect, what they're doing is they're creating their own reality.
Right.
And our belief is that you can change that reality. That's not real. That's your belief. But if you don't take the steps to change it, it will become your reality.
Excellent.
And if it becomes your reality, then you're going to attract someone who fits into that reality. So the first step is to acknowledge that these are beliefs, and beliefs are different than reality. But beliefs are very critical. And so we have to take those old beliefs and we have to give you tools and techniques and processes so you can both change the beliefs and then have these new beliefs stick. So I'm not trying to paint this as, just a superficial that, you just say, one mantra, twice, and all of a sudden everything changes. It doesn't work like that. It requires commitment and persistence. But in and of itself, there's nothing all that difficult about it. The real key is that you have to want to change. You have to want to attract a wonderful guy into your life. And if you can do that, then yes, then anybody can be successful in this.
Yeah, that's pretty good outlook, I think. Well done, by the way, with everything that you have going on and reaching people on a level that maybe they haven't been reached before. Because it's not that the subconscious beliefs are anything new. We've been talking about cognitive behavioral theory since 2015 and other cognitive behavioral things. My TEDx talk was about rewiring your brain's hippocampus to be successful. You can actually rewire your brain, like you said, Mark, the neuroplasticity. We're always growing, and you can grow to be successful. But the way you've approached it, and the way that maybe it's because of the internet marketing background that you have, looking at the website and just the way that you're reaching people, I think is so good and so necessary.
Well, we wanted to, when we created this, we wanted to make it accessible, and we wanted to make it safe. And I think it's very important that any woman out there, not feel bad about the fact that prior relationships didn't work out. And unfortunately, a lot of women do. And they shouldn't. It's not a reflection of who you are. It does not make you a bad person. If you have that desire to attract someone who is going to love you for you, love your authentic self, it just requires following a system, following a process.
And doing it.
And doing it.
And just doing it.
Right, exactly. Just like the Nike commercial.
Yeah.
So it has to be important to you. I mean, it's not going to come just by saying, okay, yeah, I'll give it a try. It has to be important to you. But if it is, then yes, there is a process, there is a system. And our whole goal with this program was to make it approachable, to make it doable, and also, most importantly, to make it fun.
Yes. Yep.
Oh, awesome.
It makes it a lot of fun. And like you said, accessible to everybody.
Yeah. Yep. Marian, as we start to close the show, what's your message for people listening right now who may have unresolved anger and they're looking and they're searching and they said, they're in the same place you would look like, I got to change. Something has got to change. What's your message for the listeners?
Well, it's very similar to what Mark just said. It's really realizing that first you have it, and then you can have the capacity to change it instead of being a victim. Find the process that's right for you. Maybe it would be somebody else's book. Maybe it'd be my book. I don't know. Go to therapy. But stop being a victim and know that you can change your beliefs. And the beliefs that you hold consistently are going to create your reality. So yes, change that. Find, some kind of tool that resonates with you to change that.
Love it. Mark, what's your message that you want to leave the listeners with today?
Well, I would echo what Marian says. I'm a believer that we can change. But personally, and so other people may be different, I like to have a process. I like to have a system. I like to have a blueprint, a roadmap, call it what you will, that says, okay, here is where I am. Here is where I want to be. Now, how do I get there? What are the steps? So when we created this program, that's literally what we did.
Yep.
We had a sad face on one end of the whiteboard, and we had a happy face on the other end of the whiteboard, and we said, okay, what are the 5, 6, 7 steps that are necessary to get from sad face to happy face? And that became the process. That became the blueprint. And for me, and I think this is true for lots of people, having that kind of roadmap is extremely helpful. And that's what gives us the confidence that the journey we are on is, in fact, going to result in something really, really positive.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. I absolutely love it. I want to thank both of you for your time and being amazing guests on this show. It has been an honor to have you here.
We loved being on your show, Sean.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thanks so much.
Is the createtheloveofyourlife.com the best link that you want to give the listeners today?
That would be the best place to go.
Perfect. That's where we're going to direct all the listeners. Awesome. Again, thank you so much for being amazing guests, and I wish you nothing but the best in 2021.
Thank you. You too, Sean.
You too, Sean. Keep growing.
Thank you. Life Transformation Radio listeners, amazing guests impacting the world around them. If any part of our conversation today with Marian Massie and Mark Satterfield resonated with you, please reach out to them at createtheloveofyourlife.com. createtheloveofyourlife.com. Go to the website, check them out, look at what they're offering, and I promise you it will change your life. As we close the show, I always say, live your brand. Find opportunities every day to live out the core values that you hold deep in your heart, and I call this living your brand. So until next episode, live an amazing life.